What's going on, guys? So card of the week has officially started for Opus 23. I think it is going to be for the next 6 weeks until pre-release officially happens. I want to say it's around 6 weeks total. I think last set was a little different for whatever reason, but so for the next several weeks at least, we are going to be getting at least one card a week revealed, and then we should start seeing community spoilers and this, that, and the other. So this should be interesting. We got our first one this week, of course, being Hope, which you can see the wonderful original art for here. And it's going to be a full art in the set. I do kind of like the art. Playing through Final Fantasy 13, I wasn't a huge fan of Hope. I always thought he was kind of whiny, but yeah, just had some people unsubscribe for that. So we're here to talk about the card itself, though. So we are a wind forward, category 13, of course. We are dual job, Ravager, and Lassie. And then our effect text is, when Hope enters the field, you may pay X. When you do so, search for one category 13 card of cost X and play it onto the field. So very reminiscent of Grahatia from the Scions that we got in Opus 20. But we have this extra little bit of text at the bottom. So for just a dull, remove Hope from the game. At the beginning of your next main phase 1, play Hope onto the field. You can use this ability only during your turn. If you play Final Fantasy TCG, there's a very good chance that you've purchased cards from Nerd Labs already. Nerd Labs has nearly 2,000 completed sales in just over the last 11 months or so, with overwhelmingly positive feedback. We're on TCG Player, but just as a little hint, if you follow the link in the description, there's no price floor when prices are updated on a daily basis. Always happy to support the stack. Let's get back to the video. So, what's your initial thoughts on this, Oscar? What do you feel like Hope? How does Hope read to you?
I mean, I like it. It's cool. I think it would have been too good if it would have been fire or lightning, probably.
I agree.
But maybe somebody can turn this around and make a pretty cool deck. I do think it's pretty cool that you could pay 2 and then essentially pull out lightning from the deck.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's some way to give this haste somehow, then you could attack for 2 and draw a card, or pull it off again. I mean,
so speaking of giving this thing haste,
it's lightning.
Yeah, the first thing that I thought of is this thing definitely has a home to me. I feel like this first and foremost has the best home in Ice Wind. Not only are there a ton of category 13 cards in Ice, you don't have too many that are in Wind other than things that are kind of focused around Wind or Hope himself. But you do have like Nora, Bartholomew, you have a few different things that you can do to kind of like help establish a board rather quickly. But someone in the North American Discord server brought up this particular lightning from Opus 7. So for just a dull, choose a category 13 forward you control. It gains haste until the end of the turn. So, in an event where you open up with Hope turn 1, discard down to, discard 2, play Hope, discard 1 more, grab lightning from the deck, and then essentially the next turn when Hope would be able to use his effect, you can just dull him and search or remove him from game. When he enters the next main phase 1, you search and play whatever you want to, and then immediately could give him haste with this lightning and wash, rinse, repeat, right? In the subsequent turns, you're probably playing, I don't know, you're casting one character, playing one character every single turn minimum. And if you do have things that are pretty low to the ground, you could pretty much curve out rather easily in a deck like that. So I think there's a case to be made for a Wind Lightning version, or you could just play the one-off Lightning backup if you really feel frisky. The fact that Hope doesn't have any sort of restriction other than Category 13 character, you don't necessarily have to play a very rigid two-color deck. You could play Lightning just to kind of help with that. Now, in the case like Oscar was talking about going super aggro, of course, this is the light lightning that he was referring to. It is very interesting just being able to grab her and then do some shenanigans. The one thing that I would honestly argue is Rug actually is pretty interesting with this, because playing Hope and then playing Rug, giving Hope Brave so that when he enters, you could, basically, I don't know, pay 2 or whatever. So, like, if you start with 7 cards, right, you're going to ditch 2 to play Hope, you're going to ditch 2 to play Rug, you're going to have 2 CP left in hand, right? You're going to have 1 card left over. You play Hope, you ditch that 2 CP, you go grab whatever 2 CP Category 13 character you're looking for. Then you proceed to attack with Rug, give Hope haste, brave, first strike. You attack with Hope, deal some damage, and then dull it. I mean, you could do some nutty stuff with this. I don't think that's a horrible setup. Is it great? I mean, it's there. It has a little bit of a interaction. But the one thing that I immediately thought of was Opus 10 Une. And we're not going to get any pictures of her here for some reason. All right. Well, it's the Une. That's a 6-drop backup. When you cast a summon, choose a forward you control, remove it from the game, then play the remove forward onto the field dull. So my idea here is that we just forego this whole remove from play or remove from game play at the beginning of your next main phase. I don't care about any of that crap. I'm just going to abuse him in the sense of just making him flicker. So I think in an Ice Wind deck, it would be interesting to play this Une. There we go. There's you a picture. This Une, and then thinking of all of the Ice Category 13 characters. So just off the top of my head, you have the 1 CP Lightning that you can essentially play for free, right?
And that's a 9K body.
It is, and that's absurd to me. You have the Psycom package. You have Snows, Sarah's. You have Moggs. You have Jill Nabots. There's a lot of very interesting things you could do here. And I do like the fact that Null and Hope are essentially, I want to call them comrades in a way, right? They do something very similar. And the fact that you could have both of these like flickering in and out from themselves seems really interesting, because when Null enters the effect due to the ability of Null, or a card named Null, I guess future proofing there, you get to choose a character, 4 more, break it, deal your opponent a damage, or search for a forward, right? You just get to search for whatever you want. So it's interesting that you could do some shenanigans there.
Playing that Sarah isn't too bad.
This one here, the 3 CP?
Yeah, because you get to draw a card.
Yeah, just for controlling a Category 13 character other than Ice. So it's literally pay 3, grab a 3 CP body, and draw a card. So nothing wrong with that. This is the Lightning that I was referring to earlier. If I'm not mistaken, is this not going to be... I feel like they announced that this was going to be a Legacy full art. I want to say they did.
Not sure.
But if so, I think that would be really cool, because it does have like the whole cast in the background. That's kind of interesting. I mean, you can grab Typhon from deck. You can grab... we just saw Orphan from deck. You could grab Null from deck. On damage 3, you could grab Null and then frickin' start swinging with him. I mean, you can do all kinds of nutty stuff here. You could grab this snow. This snow, in my research for old metas, this snow used to be very, very annoying. When a forward you control attacks, choose a forward your opponent controls and dull it. Not once per turn, indefinitely. You just get to dull down your opponent's board the more forwards you have. Being able to grab any of this stuff, Buckaboo, that's interesting. You could grab 4 CP Snow. You want to just generate a whole freaking board? How about you play Hope, you pitch 2 cards, you play the Snow, you tap 1, and you play a Lightning from deck. You're literally going to generate 3 forwards. So you're paying 3 for Hope, then you're paying 4 for Snow, then you're paying 1. Just bam, bam, bam. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Getting access to this Nora is really nice. Just being able to literally search another copy of Hope if you cared, just to keep generating some card advantage.
Somebody posted some already of those.
Yeah, these went out of stock like literally almost immediately. The foil versions did. It's pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie, I did partake in buying some of the lightning backup, the 2 CP lightning, and then I did buy some Bartholomew as well, just because I was. This guy's nice. Just when he enters, you may play a card named Hope from your hand onto the field. Just it's a backup that just is gonna play this Hope onto the field for free. So for 3 CP, you get to play a backup, play a forward, and then you could pitch to like one, you could pitch 2 CP to go search for a Yule backup. I don't know, whatever, you can just establish 3 cards for basically 5 CP. So I don't think that's bad. That is actually rather good. I do feel like though the way to go about it for me is finding some way to flicker this Hope in and out of play, right? I think we forego the whole duel. It's great if you don't open the nuts and you have to wait, like that's perfectly fine. But in the event where I can cast a summon with Une on field and then flicker him basically immediately gaining the effect, I think that's a lot better.
Yeah.
But I do fully understand every Une deck that I have built has struggled. It's a very, very interesting type of deck to get off the ground. But I do think that's like my first inclination of what makes him super good. So,
yeah.
Card of the week, of course.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I thought Hope was a chick this whole time.
So there's actually quite a few that definitely give off chick vibes, but they're actually men. Larsa is a guy.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie,
it was a girl.
I didn't know Larsa was a dude for the longest time. I never played Final Fantasy 12, so don't shoot me. So, the rest of the article here just kind of talks about being able to grab, the 1 CP Lightning, the 2 CP Starter, grabbing backups like Saz, Lumina, things like that. They're kind of giving you the play-by-plays of different things that you can do, and I think it's fine. I think that this card breaks the meta wide open? No, not in the slightest. Do I think some people may have built a fire wind category 13 deck and just kind of got lucky? Yes, I do, Leon. I'm talking to you. But I think Hope is a fine card. I think category 13 didn't need anything necessarily, but I guess there's still some love out there for them. One thing that I will bring up here is next week we will introduce 2 cards. So please stay tuned for more excitement. So I am rather excited for that. And I think that they did not intend for something else to be revealed this week. But we actually look, we actually had a second card revealed this week. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that we can see here. So we had a Lunafreya. So it is a limit break, and it is the pre-release. I'm pretty sure this is legit. I mean, there is a very slight chance that it's not, but I do believe this is legit. 6 CP limit break. Obviously, we're water here. So she only costs 2 limit break, which means that in theory you can cast her still only twice, right? Yeah. So still only twice, because it's her plus 2 and then her plus 2. So you're only left with 1 limit break card. No, 2 limit break cards. Mm-hmm. So essentially you can cast her twice. You could cast your Leo once or what have you. Doesn't matter. So this card, though, when Lunafreya enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Add 1 card among them from your hand, to your hand, and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. If the card added to your hand has an EX burst, you may trigger its EX burst effect, and that effect is put on the stack. So, this is upsetting a lot of people. I can
imagine so.
I have seen nothing but backlash from people about how absurdly powerful this card is. And on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, I'm a little bit more reserved. I don't know that it's going to be just as broken as people imagine it will be. Paying 6 CP for this is hefty, I would say. I mean, it's still going to be a guaranteed turn 1 play if you want it to be. Is it a better Leo? No, not in my opinion. It does a little bit more than Leo, so that's a fair argument to that, but I still think that Leo is the perfect do-nothing card, right? We're paying 6 CP here for a 7k body, and if you want to go off of the whole like actualized cost, I understand we're effectively paying 1 less card by doing this from the limit break deck. So normally if this was in your hand, it would cost you 8 CP total. Since it's in your limit break, it only costs you truly 6 CP. So 6 CP for a 7k body, that's pretty under curve. I think it's going to highly depend on what EX burst you reveal. So I guess let's look at the top end of this card, right? What's the absolute nuttiest EX burst you can hit?
I don't know about nuttiest, but I do believe like this might see some play in. Well, it will see some play in mono water.
Sure.
And I feel like Thornton might come back.
Sure.
Thornton at 3. So, yeah. I mean, it's not bad.
No.
You add Thornton to your hands, get a free, so you get a card off of it. You get Thornton, and then you get a search any card off of Thornton. So then you're essentially only paying 2 CP for Lunafreya.
That is also true. I do realize that now. So let's look at...
For a 7k body.
So let's look at some simple math, right? So let's say we draw our first 6 cards. We do not see a Thornton, right? We reveal 5, and we have exactly 3 Thorntons in the deck, right? We have essentially almost a 30% chance of revealing at least 1, which is interesting, right? So you're basically a 30% chance to hit at least a Thornton. But let's say that you... Go ahead.
So I would say you would up that because you would be playing 6 CP Levy at 3 as well. So that would get you a card from your break zone and return something on their side of the field. I feel that's like a 2-for-1.
Yep.
And then you get to add 6 CP Levy to your hand.
Yep. So let's say how many EX bursts were roughly in your mono water list?
Shoot, I can't remember off the top of my head. I would easily say 12. I mean,
Okay.
I would think around 12 would be a good ballpark.
All right. So
Easily.
let's say we have 12 EX bursts in the deck. We drew 6 cards off the top of our deck. We did not see a single EX burst. We are going to ditch 3, play Lunafreya. We are going to reveal 5 cards, and there are 12 EXs left in our deck that we could possibly hit. You have a roughly a 40. Well, okay, so we need to, and somebody that's smarter than me may be able to verify that my math is correct here. We have essentially an 81% chance of hitting at least 1 EX burst out of the deck.
That's not bad.
No, that's not bad at all. And then if you want to talk about, let's say we have, all right, so we have 3 Thornton, we have 3 6 CP Levy, we have 3 Waka, we have 3 Ash, we have 3 of the, oops, what in the hell?
So I don't necessarily think this is going to be played blindly in Mono Water, because Mono Water is going to be running 3 Lopprit and 3 Astrologian, so you can stack your EX and then cast it, so you're going to be guaranteed to get something. So
That's
just say you
also-
draw 60p Levy, stack it off of Astrologian, then play Lunafreya to get its effect off.
That's also very smart. I didn't think about that.
And the other 3 CP Levy that draw 2, put 1 back into your deck.
Yeah.
Not saying that they would play that, but you know, Astrologian's always played, and so is Lopprit.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say we have roughly 18. Right? So without us even like stacking the deck, if we are just blindly playing this card, a 93% chance?
Yep.
That's pretty.
Could you imagine hitting the 3 CP Levy to draw 2, put 1 back, and then play it, cast it again? Draw 2,
Yeah.
put 1 back.
Yeah.
Literally sitting there going through what you need.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I borderline hate that idea.
I just don't know why it's in Mono Water. Or water, I mean.
Yeah.
Because I guess water's got everything.
It does. So I think thematically, right, what we've been seeing over the last few sets, it seems like water is becoming the proactive, well, I don't want to say proactive. I would want to say like the pro EX supporters. Like a lot of the cards now are like in favor of EX. Like 2 CP Lena, right? Being able to just draw a card off of, EX if your opponent activates one. And then you have Fire, who is almost the antithesis of that, where it has stuff like Fel Thanos, where if your opponent activates an EX burst, deal 3 points of damage. So it's interesting. I'm not even going to begin to admit that I completely understand how this effect is going to work, because I do know there's a very big push in the North American server right now for how this effect like enters the stack and how things are going to interact. If I can remember, I will put this in the description of the video, but the Crystarium did a very good article about EX bursts and kind of like what they are, how they work as a mechanic, and blah, blah, blah. And all of this kind of culminates into the way that Axstar works, and Axstar being, a card that literally choose one card with EX burst in your damage zone, trigger its EX burst effect, and it is then put on the stack. It kind of goes pretty in depth on how all of that works. So just to call out, this is kind of what everybody's, trying to ultimately talk about. This is important to understand because this means you cannot cancel it with something like Amaterasu. If a summon or ability says choose one summon or choose one auto ability, then you can still cancel it. Sorry. Let me rephrase that. If a summon or ability says choose one summon or choose one auto ability, and then you cancel it, well, too bad you can't touch the EX burst effect because it doesn't identify that way. Please respect and understand its identity. So it's a very weird interaction. It's a very weird mechanic about how, even though like this card specifically says its effect goes on the stack, the effect is put on the stack, it's the effect itself is the EX burst. So you can't necessarily just Amaterasu it because it's not an auto ability. You can Amaterasu this auto ability. When Lunafreya enters the field, you can Amaterasu that, but you cannot Amaterasu this EX burst effect. Weird, I know.
So
I don't know.
So would you still get a draw off of Lena because the EX burst is triggered? I would assume so.
Yeah, because you are still... It's still an EX burst that's activating.
And another deck that would go good in, which I know they don't run a whole lot of water, but it's got to have access to it because of Vespia, and you play Wool in there, but playing this in Soirees wouldn't be bad to trigger your Madame or your what's her name?
Amber.
To search.
Yeah.
Amber to search Shinju, or even trigger in Elvis and Elvis the fire to play him again.
Yep.
And then play him again to burn something else.
Yep.
And they all got a lot of EX bursts in there.
Yeah, they're very EX burst heavy. Yeah, just revealing Amber and searching for whatever you want. Searching your Shinju. Plus you're adding Amber to hand. Even if you already have Amber and you already have Shinju, doesn't care. You play out your Lunafreya and then you reveal the Amber, and guess what? Amber just adds back Amber ends up searching you in Elvis, and because you just added this Amber to hand, Shinju allows you to pay for Elvis with any soiree or any color, right? So you just ditch the Amber that you already have on field. You ditch it because you already have it on field, rather, and just play the Elvis. Like, worst case scenario, you get a 2 CP like backup that's going to do something very good. So I imagine you tap Amber, tap Shinju, you ditch 2, you play the Lunafreya, you add Amber back, and then Amber's going to search you Elvis. So you have effectively paid 0? Like, ultimately, right? Because you ditched 2 cards, you added Amber and Elvis to your hand, and then you ditch the Amber for the Elvis. So you still go empty-handed in that scenario if you only started with 2 cards, but you've effectively generated 3 bodies for 2 cards in hand, right? You just traded 2 cards in hand for 2 bodies. Lunafreya and Elvis. And if you blow up something with Elvis because you control 3 at that point, I mean, shit. That's a good swing for you. That's a very good swing in your favor.
Yeah. For sure.
Or adding Vespia, like you just said. If you add Vespia, like you said, you get to, let's just say you trigger it. You draw a card.
You draw 1.
And then you play her, and then draw 2. Let's say perfect world scenario, you already have 3 out. You play her, you just draw 2 more. That's pretty ridiculous. Good. That's ridiculous. So you brought up Axstar. Right?
Yeah, so you could play it. Yeah, that can be played in Soiree as well.
Yeah.
To trigger the EX burst because it's really heavy.
Yep. 1 out. I'll do you 1 better.
Larsa.
I mean, that's also pretty interesting, right? I mean, being able to draw this card and then like swap it with something that you can't use in your hand to grab something that you've already triggered an EX burst off of, it feels very combo-y, like toolboxy in a way, that you can just kind of do all these weird things that you want to with EXs now. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I will leave this down in the description below. I do think this is a great article. It's got lots of very good information on EXs and kind of like how they are handled when it comes to like rules processing and stuff like that. So, I'll leave that down below. But I guess let us know your comments and concerns about both Hope and Lunafreya. Do you think that either of these cards are going to completely change the landscape of how we perceive the game at the moment in Opus 22? Do you think that they make current decks that are top tier even better? Do you think that Lunafreya makes Chaos Arc, Earthwater Chaos Arc? I mean, that's obviously something good that you could do with this. Warriors of Light does not have a problem running Lunafreya. Right? You're already running, you're running upwards of like 20, 22, 23 EX bursts in some of those decks. I mean, that's not bad at all. That's a ridiculous hit rate. Basically, draw a card and activate some absurd effect. Interesting.
Very.
So I guess let us know what your thoughts are down below. We'd love to hear from it. And anything else you have, Oscar?
I believe that's it. I do think this Hope, just going back to it, but playing the, I don't know if we said the Fire, Ice, Snow. I don't know if we pointed that one out, but that's pretty cool. Just paying 2, and then it reveals the top. Yep. Is it top 2 cards of your deck? Remove 1 category 13 card among them. I mean, if you're playing a all cat 13, I mean, chances are good. And then you can cast it.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe a way to spam out some stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see, like, if you played a very low to the ground, like 2 CP heavy category 13 deck, you could make the base of it like basically wind and ice for whatever reason. You just make it whatever you want to. And then like all of your forwards are either 1 or 2 CP, then you could literally just spam out a bunch of these forwards utilizing something like this or utilizing something like this. Any of these cards that kind of just let you dig deeper for other cards, I think are going to pair really well.
Yeah.
You could go get Snow and Lightning.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
All right, but anyways, that's all I really have. So, appreciate you guys listening, and see you next week for another card of the week.
All right. See ya.